family. My name is Kween Yakini, and I am a poet, author, blogger, and spoken word artist. Today, I have been asked by the Suffolk Library of Virginia to give my presentation on the significance of Juneteenth. And during my presentation, I'll be sharing some historical facts about this day and some of my original poetry that speaks to our heritage. And at the end of my presentation, I'll conclude with some thoughts on why we should always celebrate and commemorate this important day in our history. I believe that if we truly want to understand the importance of Juneteenth, then we must first know some of the history behind it. It has been said that the beginning of Black American history is a tragic narrative filled with controversy and contradictions. But we will begin on August of 1619, when approximately 30 enslaved Africans were transported to a Virginia colony where they will be traded in exchange for supplies at Point Comfort, known today as Fort Monroe in Hampton, Virginia. They, however, would only be the first of millions more to come, as years later, in 1662, a Virginia court would rule that children born to enslaved mothers were the property of the mother's owner, and this would lead to the creation of a legalized racial status system of slavery in America that would last for 246 years. Once slavery became a legalized system and was fully established in the colonies, Africans would be imported like goods, put on display for the highest bidder, and then sold to that owner who usually did not want to buy their families. Because of the great demand for quality, the colonizers would become very selective and would only capture the Africans that were the strongest. Yet, during their traumatic voyage to America, it was considered common for almost half of the captives aboard the ship to die during the crossing. However, it was noted in 1860 census that there were approximately 4 million enslaved people in the United States, making up roughly 13% of the total population. And now I would like to present one of my original poems that I call The Slave Trade. They came bearing shiny trinkets and gifts. They came on that good Jesus ship. They said that they wanted to make a trade. But the plan was to create an international market off the backs of African slaves. Now, universal law tells us that this wicked debt must be paid for all of the souls that Mother Africa gave. Because the slaves that created the gold for the new European age, it's the same gold that gives value to our currency of today. And that gold should have had the names of the African people engraved, because the motherland was stripped of everything and its people were betrayed. Yes, they were led astray by some naive kings. Indeed, a high price was paid for such terrible things. But quietly do winds blow when our ancestors' spirit sings of a treacherous past that still continues to sting. Though respectfully heads must bow at the millions of souls lost to build up that new land at such a bloody cost. But you see, slave ships contaminated their country's flag. And if we dare speak of their route to power, then our words might be gagged. But they are ingrained with blood stains, and the haunting past of history shall remain. Though righteous men will acknowledge all the suffering and all the pain, they must still live with the burden that it was their ancestors who brought the black people here in chains. Peace. We must never forget that our ancestors had to live under the most horrible conditions and that they were subjected to many types of abuse. It may be very hard for us to envision how much they were mentally traumatized, beaten, and often sexually assaulted by their owners and non-owners, but it would also be an even greater tragedy for us not to acknowledge the suffering they had to endure. Our ancestors persevered and survived their lives with the hope that we, the descendants, would not have to go through the same. So my purpose in recounting their horrific experiences is to demonstrate how imperative liberation was for our people, and to keep us mindful that Juneteenth represents an end to a lot of their pain and suffering, and was also able to spare future generations of Black Americans from that same fate. And now I would like to present another poem of mine that I call I Am Here, Beloveds. And this poem speaks to the prayer that's being given by our enslaved ancestors. I've come for you, beloveds, but you must keep on reaching. Yes, I know it's been grueling and hard, like the skin on your backs painted with scars, like the aching in the pit of your stomach for our suffering to be disbarred. So no longer can we wait for salvation from God, because our souls are yearning for peace like a mirage in the sands. So you must run, climb, crawl if you can to find refuge in this malicious land, to a place where there'll be no more chains and no more whips, and we'll exorcise the demons on those slave ships. Let our journey to liberation be noted in script. And even if I must grip the bones off your fingertips, I'll do whatever it takes. I won't let you slip. Here I am, beloveds. Reach up high, and on our ancestors' wings we all shall fly. And with all my heart I curse those shackles put upon you by those human jackals. So keep on reaching, beloveds. I know we'll prevail this time. Our descendants lead the way. I can see the path in my mind. So we must keep on moving on. No matter how great the storms, pushing through high bushes and lethal thorns, we are taking the trail before the light of dawn, so the tyrants won't know that we're already gone. Follow the light, beloveds, for it is only you that I revere. So have no fear, because through our blessings, their karma will appear. Let my knees and arms be bent. Let every drop of my courage be spent. For one day they shall repent. Hear me now, beloveds. Yes, I have a message to preach. There's a new horizon within our reach, and all their illusions we will breach, and future generations we will teach, because one day they will deliver our victory speech. Peace. Now here's a question for you. Have you ever wondered why Lincoln freed our ancestors? Well, the answer is really quite simple. It was not for our benefit. It was for his. In fact, it would be the diplomacy and tenacity of the great Frederick Douglass, who was an abolitionist leader, that would tip the scales of liberation in our favor. For in the midst of war, he would skillfully convince President Lincoln that he needed black soldiers to help win the war. But first, Lincoln would have to free our people. After considering the counsel of Frederick Douglass, Abraham Lincoln would indeed issue the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, which would ensure his military victory, and it would also deliver freedom to our ancestors in the South. However, that good news would not reach our brothers and sisters in Texas, who were unaware of their new liberties until June 19th, 1865. This would be the day we now call Juneteenth, because on that day, General Gordon Granger would arrive with Union soldiers in Galveston, Texas, to deliver the message of emancipation to the last of the enslaved black people. Yes, this became a day of celebration, because the legalized system of slavery in America would come to an end after 246 years. But truthfully, this would only be one of several victories that black people would have to win in order to achieve true citizenship status under the law. How can we continue to memorialize this prominent day that we call Juneteenth? Well, the answer is this: by remaining focused and recognizing the tireless efforts of our ancestors who fought and in many cases laid down their lives so that we could all be free. So today, I challenge you to always remember their lives and sacrifice by commemorating Juneteenth with your family and friends. For it was on this day that we began to eliminate the vile institution of slavery and begin the process of renewing ourselves. And this would be the day that all of the former enslaved black Americans were free to go and reconnect with their families and to begin the necessary work of healing from the anguish of slavery. This also meant that now we had a chance to rebuild our family units without the fear of babies being snatched from a mother's arms. This also meant that our children could finally have some knowledge of self and would know who they were and where they came from. Because of the Emancipation Proclamation and Juneteenth, we would no longer be free labor, because we could begin to earn wages for our work. This would also be the day we would begin to rise out of the fires of slavery and create a new life from the ashes of bondage and oppression. A day when we would begin the journey to reclaiming our lives and restoring not just our history in America, but also to recapture the history of our ancestors, of whom we are the descendants. Because from that day until forevermore, we will shine as we were meant to, and allow them to witness a brilliance never seen before. Because of Juneteenth, we will unleash all of our resilience and tenacity and natural-born talents, just as our ancestors did. And because of June 19th, 1865, they will see just how powerful we truly are, and that we are absolutely here to stay. Peace. And now I would like to conclude this Juneteenth presentation with a final poem that I call Ancient Winds. And this poem speaks to the greatness and power that lies within all of us. Now, you may not understand my significance, because your arrogance leads you to believe that my existence is inconsequential. And you may not want to acknowledge my presence, but yet I'm here, in the midst of your air, watching you breathe as you come to concede in your tortured reality. For I am part of the ancient winds, empowered by the divinity within, allowing me to become one with the wind, enabling me to shift and blend in with the spirit of my kin. Yes, my kin folks, holding my place at the table, leaving me a plate to eat when I am able. As my gift of intuition turns into premonitions of spirits in transition, they are drawn to my soul like an accessible admission. I can see them like a vision, an exquisite painting on the canvas of my head, adorned by the shadows of brilliant reds. I can see the beauty of all their hues. I can see the ocean in the midst of their heavenly blues. I can see them with my mind's eye where nothing's unseen, because I can see the continent of Africa in the shades of green. So you may not understand my significance, because your arrogance leads you to believe that my existence is inconsequential. And you may not want to acknowledge my presence, but yet I'm here in the midst of your air, and I ain't going nowhere. Peace. Thank you for watching, family, and thank you to the Suffolk Library of Virginia for allowing me to give my presentation on Juneteenth. And as always, family, I wish you love, light, and blessings. Peace.